Salma Rekha. Poet and storyteller. Salma Rekha was born on 11th December in Dhaka and was raised in the same city. From an early age she developed a deep fondness for literature and music. As an activist of the Bangladesh Student Society in Sapporo, Japan, she began her first forays into cultural outreach by conducting various cultural activities, a hobby which she continues to this day. She is an active member of the Mississippi Bangla Academy, a non-profit organization that intended to promote Bangla language and culture to communities in Mississippi. She is one of the main organizers of the International Mother's Language Day celebration in Mississippi every year. For the last 25 years, she has been working persistently in her expatriate work of introducing foreigners to the rich culture and heritage of Bangladesh. In her professional life, she has a PhD in chemistry and doing her research at Jackson State University, Jackson, Mississippi. So far several of her poems have been published in various books and periodicals. A collection of short stories and poems titled Ponchasher Arunprate was published in the book fair in February 2020. The Mirror of Life. Trishna, hey Trishna, mother's voice echoed from the next room. Look, I think Orko wants something, he is pulling my sari since so long. Trishna hurried to the next room responding to her mother's call for Orko. Orko is Trishna's one and only son, though he is 10 years old his mental growth did not develop enough compared to his age. That's why Orko cannot express his feelings and needs to others properly. It took Trishna a while to understand this inborn problem of Orko. This is because his physical growth is normal, but he is unable to do common children's chronological activities. Trishna got married to her longtime classmate and friend Shadab without her family's consent. It took Trishna 5 years to conceive since they had to establish themselves in their careers following the marriage. Their lovely home got filled with joy and excitement as the unborn child's arrival time gets near. They waited eagerly to see the beautiful face of their first child. Unfortunately, Trishna faced some unavoidable physical complications during the 36th week of her pregnancy, which caused the doctors to perform a C-section surgery and bring her baby, Orko, to the world a bit early. She never understood that her 4-pound-weight little doll is quite different from other children. Orko had to stay in neonatal care for a while as he was born in a premature condition, but eventually his condition improved, and the doctors permitted Trishna to take him home. Shadab's mother came from Bogara within 2 months to look after Orko as both Shadab and Trishna were job holders. Shadab was employed in a multinational company as an executive, whereas Trishna worked in a bank, but both were relieved upon arrival of Orko's grandmother, as she was taking care of Orko very sincerely. Orko was very quiet at that age. Trishna's relatives were surprised to know that he used to have a sound sleep at night, which was very unusual as babies who are less than 6 months old wake up few times at night. During his 6/7 months phases, he did not roll over, and his emotional expressions were also limited, which was quite uncommon. Trishna at times had fears regarding this matter, nevertheless Shadab was very calm about it. Shadab used to say to Trishna, look, you are overreacting about Orko's growth, it will get better with time. A year or two passed by but Orko did not speak a word, so Trishna anxiously decided to take him to a specialist doctor of ear, nose and throat. On a fine day evening, she visited Dr. Rachel Hyder and laybade with Orko. After thoroughly examining Orko's eyes, ears and reflexes, the doctor declared that he has no physical difficulties, and his ears and eyes were functioning just fine. The doctor suggested that sometimes sheer loneliness of a child might cause a case of delayed speech. In the end, he asked Trishna to admit Orko to a preschool, as he gets a little older, assuring her that this will improve the child's condition. Trishna decided to leave her job, so that she can give more time to her son. Shadab got a little annoyed at her over-anxiety, and said it is not necessary for all the children to walk and talk at the same time. There are no such universal rules. Orko will talk according to his own time. You don't need to be so restless about it. However, Trishna could not console her soul with such words. She was disheartened to see other kids playing brilliantly around, and used to think, when her son will brighten up the world like this? Orko was adored by other people due to his sweet face, curly hair and big eyes. Gradually Trishna discovered that Orko didn't make any eye contact to other people, and cries whenever taken to any new place. Trishna started to lose her temper while overthinking about how Orko will manage to go to school and study as he was unable to speak. Shadab used to come home from office very tired, and Trishna noticed he really didn't pay any attention to her problems regarding Orko. This elevated Trishna's wrath, resentment and bitterness over her own life, which had negative impacts on their marital relationships as well. She forgot to spend quality time with her husband, creating an enormous difference between themselves. Their relationship turned very sour and cold. After 3 years, Shadab's mother left for Bogora with a broken heart, seeing their family's only light of hope, Orko, dim down gradually. Before leaving, she requested Shadab to have another child, so that someone can take care of them when they get old. On the other hand, Trishna was so occupied with Orko's issue that she neither had the energy nor the will to have another child. Trishna's response on Shadab's demand for another child was, "Is there any guarantee that our next child will be normal? For now I am not concerned about another child, let my Orko improve a bit first, and then we will see." Shadab did not take this behavior of Trishna very well, and eventually stopped expressing his interests in Orko's matters. Seeing Shadab's gloomy face and unresponsiveness towards Orko, Trishna started to believe that she was single-handedly fighting for her son's betterment alone. A few years later, when Orko stepped into 5 years, Trishna admitted him into an English medium school in Don Mundi. Orko's classmates participated in many delightful class activities and studies, though Orko was unable to do so. He was submerged in his own world, and would often start crying suddenly or make loud noises, which hampered the environment of the classroom. It became very difficult to keep him in the class under such condition. His class teacher advised Trishna to take Orko to a speech therapist. With the guidance of the speech therapist and Trishna's constant hard work, Orko finally began to speak meaningful words. The therapist was the first person who informed Trishna that Orko was an autistic child. Despite the therapist's declaration about Orko, Trishna conducted some additional examinations on him, and later was confirmed that he has been born with congenital autism. The main reason behind the cause of autism is not clear yet, but it is known as a neurological disease, which causes children to have a weak social communication skill, and a troubled speaking ability with the incapability to concentrate on anything. The slight hope of Shadab and Trishna to bring Orko back into a normal life went fully down the drain after his autism's confirmation. Trishna's peaceful world got shattered into pieces with this unpleasant news. Shadab and Trishna started blaming each other time and again. One day, while they were arguing from whose family Orko inherited this disease, Shadab said, "I can't take it anymore. I have only one child, and that too autistic. What sins have I done to deserve such a bad luck? Why do I have to suffer with this child?" Trishna was left in shock after hearing such disgraceful words from Shadab about their only child. Was this Shadab the love of her university life? Her father selected a well-established groom for her who was settled abroad, but she denied and left the house wearing just one cloth, just for him. Was he the person who promised her that they would overcome all of their obstacles together by holding each other's hand? Shadab got very tired of Orko and used his work as an excuse to avoid spending time with him, and even if he does so, he does not seem to enjoy it. Trishna was devastated seeing Shadab's ignorance. Next morning she took all her belongings and left for her father's home with Orko. She said to her mother that Orko grew in my womb, and I gave birth to him, hence I am responsible for his incompleteness. I don't want to be the reason for Shadab's suffering. I want to relieve him from this pain. Trishna's parents were always liberal, and hence left their daughter's life decisions up to her. Trishna was the eldest among the 2 siblings. Her younger brother Tamal was settled and studying in Australia. Trishna had her family's support both mentally and financially all through her difficulties. After her divorce with Shadab got final, Shadab's mother called Trishna from Bogora and said while crying that she can't accept their divorce due to her grandson's disability. If Trishna wills to come back, she will convince Shadab and take Orko with her in Bogora. She also requested Trishna to get pregnant again, which might heal her broken relationship with Shadab. Trishna replied with a cold voice, "Is there any guarantee that I will have a normal child if I get pregnant again? There are chances that the next child might have Down syndrome. Whom will I send him/her to then?" She disconnected the call after saying so. In the following few years, Trishna poured all her attention, hard work and time in Orko with the motto of giving him a normal healthy life. Few days after Orko's admission in the special child's school, his music teacher called Trishna and said, "Did you notice that Orko's music sense is fantastic? He becomes surprisingly calm whenever he listens to any music." Trishna went through so many struggles in the past few years that she almost forgot to listen to any music. Likewise, none of her family members are connected to any kind of music. Orko's profound interest over music left startled Trishna no choice but to take him to different musical programs. Also, she hired a piano tutor for Orko after he had turned 12. When Orko participated in a workshop in Alliance Française, his teacher Mr. Raphael expressed his amazement over Orko to Trishna by saying, "Your son is a talent. At such a young age, he plays every music of Mozart, Beethoven and Chopin brilliantly. He catches musical notes after listening to it for once, only, which is unbelievable." Mr. Raphael's words brought tears in Trishna's eyes because she lost her husband and a lovely home for her disabled son. Mr. Raphael was shaken to see Trishna crying and assured her by saying, "I will teach your son music as long as I stay in Bangladesh. You have no idea what a gem you have given birth to." Orko sees his mother crying, rushed to her and embraced her. Trishna was everything in Orko's world. He laughed when she was happy, he cried when she was hurt. Trishna tried to stay happy all the time whenever Orko is around, because she did not want her grief to touch Orko's innocent soul. In the meantime, Shadab remarried one of his colleagues from the office. He seldom visited Orko after getting married again. This cruel attitude of Shadab discouraged Trishna to share any matter of Orko with him. On the other hand, Mr. Raphael taught Orko how to play piano and violin during his 5 years' stay in Bangladesh. Gradually Orko became an expert in playing these musical instruments. Before leaving for France, Mr. Raphael assured Trishna that he would provide all possible assistance to Orko as a musician, so that Orko can outshine. On his 18th birthday, Orko performed in a show for the first time abroad, and his unique musical talents spread quickly all over the city. Few years after Mr. Raphael's departure from Bangladesh, Trishna received a letter from France. Mr. Raphael sent the letter offering Trishna to send Orko to Paris, where he will receive better musical lessons from talented tutors. Trishna, without hesitation, decided to grasp the opportunity for her son. Shadab came to visit Orko a day before they leave for Paris. He could not accept the fact that Orko will be traveling to France for music. Trishna took her son's traveling decision alone without informing Shadab, keeping him in complete darkness about it. He said to Trishna with a complaining voice that, "How will you handle everything in abroad with this child?" Seeing his unwanted concern over Orko, Trishna replied, "Orko is 18 years old now. Legally you don't need to think about him anymore. It's quite surprising also that you are having so much affection for Orko after so many years. You always knew that Orko was unable to do anything alone. Where were you in your sympathies back then? It's better if you just think about your other 2 daughters only. Orko's mother is still alive to think about him." Shadab hastily left the room with a dejected face after hearing it. Trishna knew that though Shadab remarried, he still did not have another son, who would light the lamp of his family's lineage. She did not feel like asking how Shadab's mother reacted, after having 2 repeated granddaughters in the family. Orko started his school life in Paris Conservatory Music School, where it did not take him long enough to become famous among the teachers with his extraordinary music talents. Everyone became very astonished at his amazing musical gifts, and said to Trishna, "You are a lucky mother to have such a talented son." These appreciations brought Trishna's 10-years-old memories back to her mind again. She had to face numerous embarrassments and humiliation at that time for Orko. However, Trishna could always see the smiling sun behind the clouds. That's why she did not lose her hopes for Orko even during raging winds and heavy rainfall. She was firmly holding firefly lights in her hands, which showed her glow in the darkness, and relieved her from stresses. A few years after Orko completed his music lessons in France, and he grabbed the opportunity to play in the National Orchestra of France. The music director Daniel Gotti said to Trishna, "By born Orko possesses profound musical talents. Legends like this come only once in a century." Trishna thanked God for everything after hearing that, because all her prolonged miseries, sorrows and struggles became worthwhile and came to an end. One beautiful day while walking by the Seine River, Raphael suddenly asked Trishna, "Vous tu m'épouser," which means, "Will you marry me?" leaving her utterly shocked. Raphael was greatly impressed after noticing Trishna's dedication, love, emotions and compassion towards Orko since the day he met her. He was ready to propose to Trishna, but her possible reactions kept discouraging him from doing that. However, knowing that Trishna was now relaxed because of Orko's future, Raphael decided to propose to her with a bouquet of red roses. Trishna could not disagree because she was also tired of leading a lonely life by herself. Raphael's kind hands towards her felt like a divine touch. All her life she searched for some affection, warmth and love, which she finally found in that Frenchman Raphael. This is how life's darkness ended. A new day's sunlight absorbed every drop of the cloud. The dark clouds left watermarks and sailed far away, leaving a sophisticated and magical ray of light behind. Translated by Asmain Alamgir and Qazi Fatma Islam.